Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein and I will be your presenter here for the next 20 minutes. Today we're going to be talking about using the find, so different types of searches that you can do within the membership module. Today's information is from one of our workbooks, so if you have one of our workbooks, it's the M102 workbook, pages 8 through 15. So if you have that, feel free to follow along. If not, you can head out to churchwindows.com and you can purchase any of our workbooks out there as well. Per usual, I am recording this webinar. I will get it cleaned up and put onto the website here by the end of the day. You can rewatch this or you can share it with someone else you might feel will find this information beneficial. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I want to talk about searches using the find. So in membership, there are a couple different ways that you can go in and you can look for either a specific person by their name, or you can do a search on a lot of different fields within the Church Windows membership module, okay? And even some searches about giving and pledging if you use the donations module. So right here on the bottom of page 8, it's talking about the find feature and what the find feature does specifically. Okay, so up here in the top left in people, you have two options for find. Okay, you have this simple find button here, but then you also have this find button with just a little magnifying glass and a down arrow. When you use the find, it's going to give you one of two results. If you have one person that matches your search when you do a find, you're going to get jumped directly to that person's record here in membership people. Okay? If you decide when you do a find and it's more of a broad search and you have multiple people that match that find or that search criteria that you put in, it's going to take you to the grid and it's going to show you everyone that meets that criteria. Okay, let me show you an example of what I mean by the grid. If we come up here and go to find, and I don't put in any criteria at all, I just leave it as is, so it's including members and visitors, which you can see right here, and I hit find, it's going to then pull up the grid, and it's going to then give me everybody that I have in my database that isn't inactive. Okay? So here's all these people here. Now you can also customize the grid. So if you decide you want to change these column headers up here, add some, take away some, you can do that here in the columns and sorting button. I'm not going to go in that today because I just did a webinar on this maybe a month or two ago. So if you want more information about manipulating the grid, head out to churchwindows.com and go to our resource center and search for grid, and that will show you how to then manipulate the grid once you're in it, okay? But today is specifically just on how to use the search features for the grid. All right? So let's talk about the easiest way to find someone first. That's the first search I'm going to show you. So coming back into people, you have this person lookup feature up here at the top. Honestly, I use this more than any other search when I'm looking for someone. This houses all of your people in your database, okay, in your membership database. If you have this show inactive box checked, you are then going to see people in red within the list. If you uncheck show inactive, then you're only going to see those active people, okay? So the people in black, the people that do not have this inactive box checked, okay? If this is checked, it's automatically going to turn them red. So this is a really, really fast way to look for someone quickly. So I'm going to put in Bill, and as you can see, I get two Bills. You can also put in the last name. It gives me everyone that has Bell here. I'm looking for Bill Bell, so then it shows me all the matches. Or honestly, you could do first and last. It's really up to you. I find it easiest to just go by last name, but again, you can do the search however you want. Once you put in the name of the person you're looking for, it's going to highlight the top line. You can just hit enter because Bill's already highlighted in blue, or you'll actually need to click on Bill Bell's record and then it's going to jump, as you can see right here, to Bill Bell. So person lookup is going to be the fastest way you are going to be able to find someone by their name, okay? But you don't always know someone's name, or you don't always know that you have to look for one specific person. Maybe you're looking for a more generalized search, okay? That's where the find tool is going to come into play. If you click this find button, it's automatically going to open you to our detailed find feature. Okay, let me show you what I mean by that. If you go here to find, and then you have two options. You have a simple find, and then you have a detailed find. Okay, the detailed find here is the same as if you were to click this button. If you hit this find button, you have a simple option. Okay, so this is a really quick way to search on one thing. All right, let me show you what I mean. So in the example on page 10, it wants to search for everybody that doesn't have an email in the database. Okay, so I'm going to go find simple, because I only have one field I'm searching on, and that one field is email. I'm going to put email address in, and for this example, I'm going to choose email address is blank, and I'm going to hit find. Now my grid is going to appear because I have more than one person that met my find criteria, and now it's going to show me, as you can see based on this column here, everybody that doesn't have an email is now on my find grid. And then up in the top left, it also gives me how many records. So right now I have 79 records in my database for people that do not have an email address. Okay? So that is a quick way to do a search on one thing. Now let's say you have more than one thing you want to do a search on. So again, in the book on page 12, it talks about doing a search on women that have an active status code. Okay, so we're going to do two things. So let me close out of here. And back here in people, because we're doing a multi-line find, you can either go here or this button and then detailed, up to you. And right next to number 1, I'm going to hit edit people selection criteria, just like you would if you were running a report or running labels. And then in here, you're going to put in that multi-line criteria you want. So first thing we're looking for is status code. Whoops. Status code. Active member. Again, you could check more than one if you needed to. Add to selection. It inputs this criteria. I'm going to do an and because I want them to be active and a female. Come back up here to gender. Choose female. Add that to selection as well. All right, so now I am searching on members and visitors that have a status code of active member and gender. Okay, realistically for this, we could uncheck visitors if we needed to. All right, so once I get that in here, I'm going to say OK. Reiterates my criteria for my search, and then I'm going to hit find. And again, if I have more than one person that meets my criteria, my grid is going to open, and then here are all my ladies that have an active member status code. All right. Now, if you wanted to jump to one of these records, you could easily do that just by checking someone in the list and hitting go to record, and it's automatically going to take us here to Miss Jen. And then if we want, we could hit the grid button up here at the top, and it'll jump us right back to the grid we were just in. All right, so that's another example of a multi-line or a more detailed search that you can do. Now, bottom of page 12, it's talking about finding inactive people. Let's walk through this search as well. So we're going to do a quick find on this. So I'm going to hit find, simple, one field only. I'm going to put in my criteria, which is an active individual. I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to hit find. I'm going to get a message. It's going to say you have asked for inactive individuals, but you have not selected to include inactive. Inactive individuals will be checked. So this is just alerting you because by default inactive people are left off. This is checking it for you to include them because that's the criteria that we want. All right, so I'm going to say OK. And then again, more than one person meets my search, I'm going to get the grid. Okay, so here are my list of inactive people. Right, so it's really similar to how you would build reports and labels. One more criteria I want to show you. It's going to be a detailed find, so I'm going to hit Find Detailed. And let's say I want people who passed away within a certain period of time. So if that's the case, next to number 1, I'm going to hit Edit People Selection Criteria. My first piece of criteria, I'm going to use Inactive Date. And I'm going to choose Between because I want to look at the whole year for 2020. Again, you could put in whatever date range you want. You could do before or after a certain time frame if you wanted to as well. You have lots of options in here. I'm going to add that criteria. I'm going to do And. So I want inactive people in a certain time frame, but I only want the people that passed away in that time frame. So I have to add my inactive reason criteria as well. And this is where I'm going to choose death. This is really helpful for those reports you might have to do the end of the year. Add to selection. So I have anyone who is inactive in this date range and their inactive reason is death. And I am going to come over here and check this inactive box because I specifically need those people for this. Say OK. Here's that criteria. And I'm going to hit Find. All right, so I have 2 people that meet that criteria, William and Dylan. And then I could, if I wanted to, go look at Dylan's record specifically. All right, and he is in red because he's inactive. All right, let's talk about one more thing here. Let's talk about saving finds. So if you have a find that you do pretty regularly, all right, you can save that so you don't always have to come back through and click in and enter each piece of criteria. So bottom of page 14, the example is looking for divorced, widowed, separated, or single people. So you can schedule some social events for singles. All right, that's the example from the book. So let me walk you through inputting that find criteria and then saving it so you can reuse it. Again, we're going to come up here to Find. We'll do Detailed for this. Edit People Selection Criteria. I'm going to put in marital status. I'm going to check divorce, separated, single, widow, widower. Add to selection. So here's my one piece of information I'm going off of. I'm going to say OK. Now something else I want to point out to you, I'm not going to do an example of it, but you can come down here to number 3, and if you use the donations module, you can pair in some giving and pledging criteria as well. So if you want people who've only given, who've only pledged or given or pledged within a certain amount, all that can be done right in here, and you can adjust the date range for that giving or pledging criteria that you're using. Again, super similar to reports and labels. Now, let's say we want to save this because we do one of these singles events every 6 months, for example. Down at the bottom, you can hit this little floppy disk icon here, and then you can put in a name of what you want to call this. Call it singles events. Say OK. And now down at the bottom, this save selection will be down here. So the next time I come in here and I need to do a search or a find criteria for singles, I can just hit the down arrow, select this one, hit find, and then it's automatically going to take me to the grid for those people that have one of those following marital statuses that I put in. Okay? Pretty straightforward with the searches. The grid is just a really nice tool. I feel like it's one of those things in the software that gets underutilized because people don't always know how it works or how to use it. But the find features, especially that quick find, it's really fast and it really gets you to the data, the information that you're looking for. Along with using this column and sorting option, you can add columns, remove columns, rearrange column headers all across the top here to really get it to set up to what you prefer, what you need to see. And then again, you can run reports and things like that right from here. Okay. But keep in mind, if you want more information on the grid out at churchwindows.com, just search for the grid, and that will give you the webinar I did from a couple months ago on how to use it once you're in here.